Yo, I'm ABX Toycat, and the two best features found in the Chase the Skies drop are available in one Minecraft version, but not in the other. That means you have to choose between visuals and sound for this update. You can't have both, and sure, outside of that, there's one major flagship feature, which actually is kind of sad and small, but this is not the first time Minecraft has received new features for one version but not the other, but it is the time where we see the greatest proportion of an update being exclusive to one of the two platforms, and so it's now the time to ask, in my opinion, why is it that Mojang are so keen to keep Minecraft and Minecraft causing each other issues rather than bringing the game into a nice state where actually everyone understands exactly what's going on and how they relate? Well, let's go into that today because I want to break that down as well as show you the good and bad side of Minecraft keeping the game consistent. But first, let's go talk about the times they didn't do that. Because to a casual Minecraft player, it might look like Minecraft is the same on the both versions outside of the input methods you can use and the menus that you have, but actually there are huge differences, and I want to point out 4 updates that really exacerbated this, and all of these are recent updates from when Bedrock has been in serious development. And let's start with 1.9, the big one, because the combat update came out in 2016 for the Java version of the game, but it still has not come to the Bedrock version. Obviously the End Island stuff and some of the potion changes have, but the big one of being able to offhand and actually wield 2 items at once still is not available on Bedrock. It was a big deal when years later they added the ability to use the shield, but there are still just 6 items you can put on your offhand for Bedrock, whereas you can put literally every item in there for Java, giving Java players a whole extra inventory slot, not to mention the ability to do 2 weapons or 2 anythings at once, which just is not possible on Bedrock. And what exacerbates this is the fact that it's not just that change, but if we talk about 1.14, the Village and Pillage update, it seems like it's pretty similar between Bedrock and Java. After all, the villager trading now is much more similar between both systems than it was before. However, if we talk about the pillage side of the update, oh boy, let me go into the 3 biggest changes. The first one is the fact that if you ring the bell on Bedrock, all it does is ring a bell. It won't light up any villagers because the spectral arrows still are not found on the Bedrock version of the game because the combat update never came. So that's an example of cascading parity changes where not being able to do something from before makes it not possible to add another feature, but to add to the deluge of crazy changes from 1.14, my favorite example that I only learned about while researching this video is that if you fight a raid on Java, you get given gifts for doing it. I always knew that was true, but I didn't know that the Bedrock equivalent was meant to be the gifts you get from killing illagers. That is to say, fighting a raid has entirely different reward systems because on Bedrock your rewards come from killing pillagers, whereas on Java you don't get rewards from killing pillagers. Instead, it's the villagers who give it to you, which has entirely different lore implications. Minecraft has an entirely different mechanic for raids, and if you think, well, you're still fighting the same mobs, no, you fight more mobs on the Java version because their waves are actually randomized, so you have a different number of mobs from different numbers of waves. But even more interestingly, if you happen to have Raid Omen when you start a wave, you get an extra round in Java that you don't get on Bedrock, meaning you can have 4 rounds, 6 waves, or 8 waves, just entirely depending on whether you're playing Bedrock or Java, and I just do not understand how something so massive got it made. I think when it came to 1.18 and the Caves and Cliffs, they actually did a really good job at fixing this, but as we know, the Caves and Cliffs update did take some extra time, so something interesting to note. And 1.21, which was the next huge kind of expansive idea of taking one feature and really committing to making it massive, had the Trial Chamber, and the Trial Chamber is of course the same on Bedrock and Java, except just kidding, it doesn't have these rooms on Bedrock to this day. They added them in a Bedrock preview, it broke some things, and then they removed them and went, well, I guess now Bedrock and Java have to be different, and that is a great example of how they know this feature exists. They know that there is meant to be a set of rooms that exist on Bedrock, but because adding them caused other issues with the world gen, they're just kind of focused on other things right now, like the Happy Ghast, for example, which is where I think we should talk about next, because Chase the Skies as a drop is a really interesting example of an update that has parity issues. What are those parity issues? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's go into those now. Simply put, if we exclude the usual stuff, which is to say there are commands that have been added to Java but not Bedrock, there have also been huge changes made that really impact quality of life, such as the ability to change cloud distance, music frequency, and also to have a pop-up that will tell you which music track is playing. I would absolutely love this as someone who loves their Minecraft music but can't name any of the 80 tracks off the top of my head because I don't know what they are when they're playing. I just know that it's the da 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 one, and that's not actually very useful By the way, if you're curious, that's Infinite Amethyst. I do know that one song because it's the one that Minecraft uses everywhere, but if you want to actually learn your Minecraft music names, as I think is reasonable in most games, then it's really, really tricky to do on Bedrock because we are not blessed with any of the options they have to change the music on Java. However, I think there's a lot of Java players who would say, nah, I would throw all of those features into lava if it meant that we could have these new vibrant visuals. Vibrant visuals is a brand new graphic setting that goes above fancy in the simple fancy tier list to be the new default beautiful way to play Minecraft. You have seen something about these if you care about Minecraft by now, but just in case you haven't, oh wow, everything's so great. The reflections, the shadows, the way that everything has been made a little bit more Minecrafty. This took a huge amount of work, but it will first be available on Bedrock and it can't be available on Java until later. And I think that we could talk about why this is and how this is, but first we need to dive into the difference between good parity and bad parity. And so to do that now, back to me, but in the swamp biome. Wait, I'm using a green screen to do this, and I can pick myself to be anywhere. Why would I choose a swamp? Instead, maybe, as I talk about good parity, I should be in front of an abandoned mineshaft on the surface, because as we talk about the differences between, good parity and bad parity, I think it's important that we talk about the huge difference between the two, because good parity is really important. Minecraft does need to have parity between its versions, even if only for marketing reasons, and good parity, in my opinion, would include taking good Bedrock features and adding them to the Java version of the game, or indeed vice versa. Great examples the Bedrock way around would be baby squids, the pathway block. Both of these came from, I think, MCPE 0.11 as it was known, but they're both features that the Bedrock version of the game added, and then Java figured, oh, yeah, this is a good idea, isn't it? And then I think another great example would be the surface mineshaft. Wow, look at this. This didn't exist on Java. They never considered adding it until the Bedrock developers just decided, wouldn't that be fun? And yes, it's a lot of fun, actually. Glad it exists. And so similarly in the reverse, I don't think that the Bedrock version of the game would have ever had custom superflat were it not for both console and Java having this system in place. We still only have different presets, which isn't perfect, but still, superflat has gotten better on Bedrock in a way that it just wouldn't have were there no other version of the game. Using your other versions of the game to realize what you can do if you go down alternate pathways is something that I think Minecraft gets to benefit from, and they can use the multiple teams working on the game as a benefit, whereas now I feel like we see it as almost a downside. I mean, to give an example of the downsides of parity, the bad parity, if you will, let's talk about my favorite pet peeve, my least favorite change they've ever made to Bedrock that you don't even notice until you see them side by side. But Bedrock used to have plains biomes with fairly sparse grass, which meant that, yeah, it still looked like a plains, it still had the atmosphere, but Java had grass everywhere. I don't know why they added this to that game. It sucks having to punch all the grass array before you build your builds, but Java is right. Java is all supreme mighty version. I mean, I would make, I thought that Minecraft are making a big point about not liking the Java, but like, Java is supreme version, they must be right with the amount of grass, and so now everyone has to suffer, whereas you could have the reverse example where no one has to suffer. I think that there are so many little changes. Another great one would be boats. Boats used to be able to fit horses in. Why can't they anymore? Bad parity. Savannas used to have lovely green grass. They don't anymore. Why? Bad parity. When Mojang looks at two versions of the game and goes, there's probably no difference between these, let's just make it match Java, they are doing a disservice to their community. Imagine if when they saw that baby squids existed on Bedrock but not Java, and they went, oh, that's a silly bug, let's fix that. We would have made Minecraft worse for no conceivable reason, and Java players wouldn't have got to enjoy the beauty that is the baby squid, the surface mineshaft, or indeed any of the other things that have come to Bedrock first. This is why and what I really also think is crazier is when they are doing these changes, making Bedrock worse, rather than actively just adding the things that I just mentioned are missing. Trial chambers don't have rooms. That should be a priority over grass generation. The nether ceiling still sucks on Java. That should be a priority over messing around with like music toasts, although, if we're messing around on music toasts, maybe add them to Bedrock. I don't understand how the games end up so far, but they added the dialogue system to Java, and it's like, rather than adding the dialogue, maybe instead we could work on making the game better in the ways that would affect the player. Making the raids in Parity, maybe by having both reward systems, or maybe even, if I could go so crazy as to say, having two hands on the Bedrock version. Wouldn't it be cool if I could attack twice at once? Would be cool. I mean, you can't actually do that on Java, by the way. One just functions as your right click or left trigger or other can function. But yeah, I think that a bad Parity, in my opinion, is when there is something that could fully function on one version, but it can't because it wouldn't function on the other. A great example of this would be bundles. They were functional on Java for years before they came to Bedrock. And another great example is vibrant visuals, which are fully so they spent years making this work on Bedrock, because Bedrock is the more optimized version of the game in terms of graphics. I know you can optimize Java with mods, but if it's so good and you can do it with mods, why haven't the Java developers just taken those and put them in the base game? There are trade-offs that you don't realize you're making, but like, if Minecraft Bedrock is more optimized, and so vibrant visuals can exist there right now, and it does. And so this is my big kind of thesis conclusion of this video, is if we can add vibrant visuals to Bedrock now, despite the fact that they're not coming to Java for many years, maybe we should consider doing this with more features too. I know that's a crazy thought, I know that's a wild one, but actually, even though I'm someone who thinks that Parity randomly breaking is a bad thing, actually, why don't we have Mojang say, yeah, there are some things Java does better. Maybe lots of things Java does better, and there are some things Bedrock does better, and in the same way that they wouldn't ever consider adding the marketplace to Java, or they wouldn't ever consider adding the customized world types to Bedrock, sadly for me, I think that they should actually start to play each game to its strengths and add more features that they don't know will work on the other one. But I think if they're going to do that, they should at least have this same commitment they have with Vibrant Visuals, where when it can work, if it can work, how it can work, they will put it on there. And if there's a parity issue they can explain to us, like with Vibrant Visuals where they just say, yeah, it's going to take some months to get done, I think people will be happy. I think as long as Mojang communicates what they're doing, people can be happy with almost any version of Parity. But that's just my opinion as a guy who decided to put themselves in a swamp biome. What is your opinion? You can let me know now, because I think that there's a lot more I want to say about this, but it will just turn into an endless rant about why we don't have the combat system, or why it is that we ruin so many Bedrock features to make them match Java, while not taking great Java features and adding them to Bedrock. But yeah, I would love to, honestly, what I would love to, have you heard the hypothetical of like, well, if you could be king for a day, what would you do? I want to be king of Mojang for an update cycle, 1 year, let's say, and I wanna be in charge of these decisions, and I wanna hear the discussions that are being had, and I wanna share those discussions, because right now, Mojang is like an impenetrable fortress. They're working on an update, and we don't get to know what it is, or if they are working an update, or a drop, or how many drops, or when those drops are. I think that lots of games and lots of systems give roadmaps, and if Mojang could give us a roadmap and a plan, kind of like the leaked one, but real, if they could give us even the loosest plans that they have, while also clarifying very clearly these are provisional, they're subject to change, I think people might appreciate that. But do I just think that because I like knowing things? Do people actually hate knowledge? You tell me in the comments down below. For now, I hope you all enjoyed this video, because I'll see you in the next one. I'm probably on a beach right now as you watch this, or I'm in a plane. It's one of the two. Or I could be on the way from the plane to the beach. Or I could be in Tokyo, because I've got a 2-day stopover there. It's going to be good. Yeah, it's going to be great. Anyway, goodbye.